It's Ada from Apple Electronics, 12 volt connected, and this thing that I do with different people in our industry. I'm going live early just to make sure we have audio. I want to make sure that there are people in here. I see one person in here. I don't know if they're on Facebook or YouTube. So there's 3 people. If there's audio problems, can you guys tell me now? That's the reason I went a little bit early, just so that I could do that. Facebook show. Sounds good. All you guys on Facebook, if you go to the Facebook page that we're on, 12 Volt Connected, I made a post about how you can edit your thing, because like whoever wrote sounds good. I don't know who. It just says Facebook user to me, which is fine. I don't care. I'll answer whatever questions. But it looks like this. So we want to see who you are and see what your name is, so that we can answer whoever it is the way it is. So let me start by saying this. I am finally in the final stages of my, I guess you want to say, studio. There's a couple of things that I have to do in here to make it awesome. But I mean, I have a whole bunch of stuff that's going to make this whole space cool. Behind me will be a little bit different. It won't be a window to my fucking backyard. There's my little kid. My daughter's here. Hi, Libby Quins. She's running away. Anyway, so thank you guys for having us. Matt will be in here shortly, I'm sure. He's messaging me now. He gets thumbs up. So he's gonna get on here at 8:30. It is now 8:27. So we got. You can't have those? No. I'm sorry. I forgot. She got braces. So anyway, so we are going to talk to Matt tonight, and he's a fucking animal. He was able to send me some information from some of the installs that he did in the past. Well, it sounds like Ada to me. So all of these over-the-air updates, they all are a couple things. One of the things is the guys that I talk to are really friends of mine that I've kind of, befriended while I've been in this industry. And they all work for manufacturers that can provide service to, the 12 volt community. One of the things that is neat about what we're going to do here is, it's going to be like a travel through time with a guy. And hey, maybe you guys know some of these people, maybe you don't, but you'll figure out, that they're part of the industry and they have as much influence as you, or as much excitement for what they do as you do as well. So, I really am excited to do this one because I feel like Matt is one of those guys that is in our industry that does not get his true deserts. He deserves a lot because of what he does. I cannot see you now. That person. So we are populating the room a little bit. There's 12 people. I'm going to ask Matt to, let's see how long. Got a couple minutes. A couple minutes. What? I don't understand that. Sorry. This is kind of, I'm still learning how all this stuff works. This informational screen that I have. You guys don't see all this stuff, but it's a lot. And I'm trying to be able to, there he is, present stuff.
Hey.
Hi. How are you? Good. I'm excited to do this because the last time we did something with you was when we were in the syndicate.
Yeah.
And we tried to do a whole series. We tried to do something like what I'm doing now, but kind of fell apart. And you set the bar so fucking high. I think that
I did like a it was like a webcast of my presentation.
Right.
Yeah.
So this time I think that I wanted to try to make it a little less,
presentation style,
right, and make it more like, two dudes talking.
Sure.
So I'm gonna get started because you and I have an interesting past that you probably don't know about, but you guys did what I thought was a Forerunner, but it was an actual Pathfinder.
Yeah.
With a bunch of JL Audio stuff. And I remember...
I couldn't remember the guy's name, but I just remembered his name was Stephen Tang, the owner of that Pathfinder.
Yeah. So what I was trying to do a second ago was, because you sent me oh, okay, I know how to do it. You sent me pictures of that install with your your profile of stuff. And so what's really funny about that is there's two stories to tell about that installation. I remember seeing that install. It's probably 2000 or 2001 at Hot Import Nights, New Jersey.
Yep, I was there.
It was, well, your install was there, and I just remember stumbling across it. Like, this is import tuner time, and there was like tuner cars everywhere, and I'm like, yo, who the fuck built this? And it was, you had the amps, and I remember looking at the capacitors that you guys had kind of flushed in the fiberglass.
Yep.
Kind of peeking through. You know what I mean? That was a neat trick. Real quick, just tell everybody your past, because you're more badass than you probably lead on, and I know you're going to be humble about it, but
I mean, I definitely spent some hours, in the bay, but compared to what some of these guys do today, it's long time ago. But no, when I graduated high school, I didn't really want to go to college, despite my dad very much wanting me to go. And I went to community college, and I got a job. I begged for a job, I should say. Begged for a job at a shop right outside of Philadelphia called Worldwide Stereo, or Bob and Ron's Worldwide Stereo. They were like kind of the premier 12-volt retailer in the area. I had bought stuff when I was in high school there. And I was like, look, stick me in the back. I'll sweep up, pay me minimum wage. I don't care. I just wanted to get my foot in the door. And, so they hired me in 99. And, I worked my way up, and I was the 12-volt manager by the time I left there. But, I wasn't afraid to get in the bay and get my hands dirty. I did my own fair share of installs. And at the time when I started there, we weren't really doing any fabrication work at all. It was really just, your typical head unit, 4 speakers, amp, sub in a box. We did have like a wood shop and stuff, but like I feel like at that point was when, like you said, the tuner craze came in, and I was certainly part of that. I had bought a Civic Si brand new, and that's when I did my Civic, and at the same time that Pathfinder. I think we really sold that Pathfinder job based off what I did in my Civic, and yeah, I mean, we did a bunch of cars like that, really big, big fabrication jobs, a lot of fiberglass and paint and sanding. I do not miss those days.
What's funny is I don't mind sanding because of those days.
I know. I did a lot of sanding.
So a couple things about sanding in those days. I don't think we were properly trained on how sandpaper worked back then, because I will fuck some shit up with 36 grit and get it like 80% there. You know what I'm saying? Add another coat. Polyprimers, polyprimer is another huge factor that I wasn't utilizing myself back then. You know what I mean? We'd
I was buying like Home Depot sandpaper,
Yeah. Yeah. And there is a difference. There's 100% difference.
A huge difference. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So what I'm attempting to upload videos or images because I didn't even notice you guys put a TV in the door panel, and look at that.
Oh my God, there was so many TVs in that car.
Bass. Oh, I can't wait to get this in here.
He was like really into the the monitor thing was really big then. Like, how many monitors can you put in a car? And we put them everywhere, in the visors, in the door panels. Yeah, it was kind of ridiculous.
So I think that you guys did a great job on that install. Again, it's to this day. Can you still see me?
Yeah.
Okay. To this day, because I'm doing something in the background, it's still one of my favorite installs that a shop did. It was put it this way, that installation was of the level for a manufacturer at the time.
I appreciate that.
It was super stellar, and I might remember it better than it was. But when we show videos or pictures of it here in a second, we'll probably have to go back to it because I'm doing something I should have been doing earlier today, right now, because whatever. But
it's all good.
So, real quick, you then went from there to work for Kenwood, right?
I did, yeah. So in 2006. Kenwood had a job opening for the Eastern Regional Product Specialist. And again, I begged for that job. I think I emailed the hiring manager. His name is Peter Logan. He actually works for Crutchfield now, but he was the training manager. And I knew they had posted the job, and I emailed him every single day for like 6 months. Like, literally, I emailed him every day. And then finally he just called me. He's like, I'm going to be in Philly. And he came and interviewed me. And he's like, I hired you. After he hired me, he's like, I hired you because you literally would not leave me alone. So I went to go work for Kenwood, and I was there for a long time, till 2016. So 10 years.
Around the time I met you. I think I met you.
It's funny you say that, because we met a long time ago.
Uh-oh.
Didn't you work at Meyer Emco?
Absolutely.
Yeah, when we met at Meyer Emco.
Really?
Yeah.
Were you doing a training there?
Nope. No. So in the early days of Kenwood, before the internet got really, really big, and I used to drive around in my territory, like the Philly to the tri-state territory. I would drive to retailers within a certain distance of my house and go visit them and just, talk to them about Kenwood and whatever. And I came down, and you were working there. I swear.
That's crazy.
I know. And it's weird because after we had met, I was like, man, I know him from somewhere. And I'm like, he's in the DC area, or that area, Baltimore area. I'm like, and I know I used to travel that territory. And then I was like, I think he used to work for Meyer Emco. And then,
Yeah.
yeah. So I distinctly remember stopping in and talking to you, but it would have been like when I first started at Kenwood in like 2006 or 2007.
Yeah, I mean, it's right at the tail end of
Right.
MCO. So you were
Yep.
probably at one of the Fairfax when I was in Fairfax.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
Store.
I know they closed shortly after that, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you
So
left. Didn't you leave 12 volt after that for a little while?
So no one's ever asked my story. I did. I went from doing my Armco. So I'll tell you a quick story about me, and this is for all you commission guys out there. This was my commission trick. I was doing so good at IMCO. Whoever was before me was so shitty at their job that when we went there, we would have our monthly goal, and I was the car audio manager, and I got paid on that, but I also got paid on my own commission or whatever like that. But we had killed our goal. Let's say we had a $50,000 or $60,000 goal. I would have $120,000 in the till
because the previous goal was based on the previous
year.
Yeah,
right.
It was forecasted based on the previous month or whatever. Yeah,
right. So I hit every bonus for every category every month for a year.
Nice. Yeah, nice. You know, when I was at Worldwide, it was a very similar structure. You know, I was just in sales for a while, and we were 100% commission. There was no draw. So, but I did very well. You know, we all did. You know, the commissions paid high. You know, that was still in the days of you know, when you had tons of margin to work with. And, you know, part of the reason why I you know, went this direction and didn't go the college route was because I was making like triple what my friends were making. You know, I was like 20 years old. And I was like, just, you know, buying stupid stuff. I had a lot of expendable money.
Yeah. The funny thing about the early days where there were different types of stores. Like Worldwide was much like an MCO.
Yeah.
Right, where we had much like a tweeter.
Yeah. We just only had one store though. Yeah.
But the culture is the same. Right. You know, you had the home side, car side.
Correct.
And a lot of the guys that spent big money on the home side would spend retarded money on the car side. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, you know, it's a very different model. And there are still some of those things around, some of those type of stores around.
They're not as common as they used to be, but Worldwide still does it. I mean, their car audio department is smaller than it used to be considerably. I think they only have one bay now, but when
they're
I was
online as well, right?
What's that?
They're online as well.
They are, yeah. They do a pretty good business online. But you know, when I was there, we had 3 install bays and then like a makeshift one in the back because we were so busy. You know, we were killing it. We were booked out solid all the time. I mean, we just had that much business. But you know, the area that we lived into was, you know, we're like right where I'm at. We're like in the middle of like all the big pharmaceutical companies. So there was just a massive amount of business, you know, in our area, a lot of wealth. And so the home side and the car side always did very, very well. And, you know, like I said, I was 100% commission, did well. And then, you know, I went to being the store manager after a while, and I did that for a couple years. And then, like I said, I needed a change, and Kenwood was my change, which, you know, I had you know, Kenwood was nothing but a great experience for me. I got to, you know, be very hands-on with the product and give a lot of input and feedback on what I thought, you know, how the direction of the product should go. I got to go to Japan multiple times to go to the Kenwood headquarters, which was, you know, awesome. A really great experience. And, you know, I lived and breathed Kenwood for that entire time I was there, you know, like it was, you know, I mean, I'm a car audio guy and like still love it. But it's hard when you work for a manufacturer like Kenwood, like you're like kind of expected to only use that equipment, right? Like, it's not like I can be like, oh, I really like this Arc Audio product and I want to put it in. You know, they would have kind of like frowned upon that. So I, you know, that was what I was kind of restricted to using for you know, that the entire time I worked there. But, you know, I mean, it's not like Kenwood's, you know, a bad product. It's, you know, very reliable, and, you know, I used it extensively for a long time.
Right. So real quick, before we move on, I'm going to try to do this. I'm going to share my screen.
I can easily pull the pictures up too.
Well, Jesus. It's okay.
I have them right here on my computer.
Okay. Let's go and see if you can go in your file that you sent me. It's under Forerunner, and then you open it up and it expands to Pathfinder. And I remember it as a Forerunner too, so kind of was fun.
Oh, did I say Forerunner? Oh yeah, it is a Pathfinder.
Yeah.
Do you want me to share?
You can. I mean, I'm already there, but you can do it if you want. That way, you can kind of go over.
Well, and I have more
pictures.
Yeah, I have more pictures. So
maybe we can talk about what I see as we or what I've seen what I have seen of your work that you sent me, and then we can go over kind of like, you know, some of the early stuff. There you go.
Yeah. So we did this like pearl. It's like a silver with like a pearl flake in it. It was, now looking back on it, a little over the top.
Hey man, but it was, you know, if you were gonna put a fiberglass bass boat inside of a fucking truck, that's what you look at, right?
Yeah. And then we did these were the JL XRs. Did a 6, a 4, and a tweeter. All I believe we did all active in this. I can't remember though.
I think that there were 4 amplifiers in there.
Yeah. Well, no, there's 3. Actually, there's one hidden too. There's one that you can't see.
Right.
Underneath that big. This is before we painted it. So the first generation, we painted the centerpiece in here around the W7s, because this was like right around when the W7 came out. So it was kind of like, you know, a big deal. And
can you believe the W7 has been out for 20 plus years?
I know. It makes me feel very old. It's funny too, because when I get to my Civic, I actually got the W7 and the Slash Series amps before they were even released to the market to put in the Civic, because I kind of showed them what I was working on, and they're like, yeah, you know, that's what we're looking for. And I got the rep to send me some. So I had them like, you know, before they were even on the market, like testing them. So, you know, I had them in my car for a while. And then when they released, we literally started this job. But do you remember so this is all vinyl wrapped, right? So we vinyl wrapped this.
That's still a gangster. That's still a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it was work. It was a lot of work. We vinyl wrapped it, and then, but you know, these were like those Excel like TFT displays, you know, so the resolution was like just horrid. Like if you got off access on them at all, you couldn't see.
It was white. Yeah, it was white. Yeah.
And we there's a little camera in this top pod where there's the 4 monitors.
I could see it right in the center.
Yeah. So we put a camera in there. So, you know, when we were at shows, you could pop it open and you could have people walking up and they'd see, you know, themselves on all the monitors. So yeah, this guy, he I don't know, I can't remember what he did, but he spent some money.
I mean, for back then, you got to think those W7s at the time were $700 a pop.
Yeah.
You know, now they're double what they were then.
Well, and just in labor too. I mean, it was like 3 of us working on this nonstop. Like I remember some late nights getting this thing done.
And did you have a timeline for it? Did it have to be done for Hot Import Nights, or was it just?
I think we were trying to get it done for Hot Import Nights, but I can't remember. You know, it was a long time ago, and I definitely huffed a lot of fiberglass during that time frame.
It was a long time ago.
Yeah.
Do you want to skip to your Civic, the Civic that you had with the
Yep. My 2000 Honda Civic.
All right, so this is kind of funny because I've just purchased one of these vehicles.
Yes, you did. Same exact car. Yeah.
You never know. It might be your car. Could be your car.
Yeah, I don't know. It was pretty beat up.
Bro, this car that I have.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you something. The reason that I don't know. I had a Civic before this. It was the Civic I had before this was so nice. And what I'm about to do to this car, I'm going to destroy this car. I'm going to cut it up. I'm going to do all kinds of stuff. And it just wasn't the right car.
Yeah.
To build a true time wasting 12-volt dragster as it's been called. So I decided to pick up an SI that a friend of mine had. We traded with cash.
Oh, okay.
And I lost my butt on this car.
Yeah,
but in the end,
old Civics are they're desirable.
They are not mine because it looks great now, but it was not. Work. Oh yeah. It was a 100-footer. So
yeah. I mean, mine. It was like I sold it like this, and I got a pretty decent amount. I mean, not nearly what I put into it because I mean, I had tons of engine modifications done to it. I had a full Buddy Club body kit on it, and like. You know, I mean, I put some insane money into this car.
Do you regret selling it now?
Oh, of course. I do. I had an RX-7 in high school, and I got rid of that. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, you think, this car's not going to be worth anything. I mean,
I'll just get another one.
It won't
be. I'll just go get another one.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, I got that, and then I had that, and then I got rid of that, and I bought this. This brand new. And I mean, I don't know if I were because I had my fun with it, and but yeah, I mean, obviously I wish I could have it again. I would take a Civic for sure. I don't know that my wife would let me have a Civic, but
well, you just got another cool car, but we'll get there. We'll get there.
We'll
get there. All right, so this is the install. It looks like. Is that a 1,000? Actually, no.
It's two
500
ones. 500. So I had a 500 going to each W7, and then I had I guess I had 300/2s. That's what I had.
Okay, so you just front stage.
Yeah, it was all active. Like I was listening to your podcast with Jeff or your same thing that you did with Jeff Smith, and you guys were talking about how like people don't understand the active systems, and like I've been doing active systems forever. Like back then I was doing them. I never was like a big passive crossover fan. I love just running direct power right to the speaker. And so, I definitely grasp that, and I find it to be, just a much more, flexible way of doing it. I did Phoenix Gold 3 ways. So I did their
exact.
Yeah, so they were the Morels. They were the Morel 3, like Morel drivers, but they were branded Phoenix Gold. So I did it was like I think a 4 and a tweeter, and then the 8-inch, which was that big. It was like a 9, actually. It was huge. And
you did that in the door?
I did, yeah. I had to hack the heck out of the door, but
what I was going to say, the door panel on that car is probably one of the stupidest things.
It is. I actually built. I don't know how many pictures of it, but I built new door panels, like the lower portion of it. Like I cut it at the seam. Because it had like an arch in it, and I cut it at that arch and just rebuilt the whole bottom half. And it was loud. I mean, it was pretty insane. Like we used it and look at that. Look how beautiful.
That I like that. I like
the
that.
Red
what,
paint.
What I like is that you guys ran out of space, and then you had had the radio come out about, it looks like about an inch and a half, 2 inches.
Well, yeah. Well, no, this is a DVD player. This is like an AudioVox DVD player. And then I had Kenwood's, it's like
Screen.
it's like a standalone nav screen with a video.
And that screen was touchscreen. I remember back in the day. That screen
It
was
was, yeah. It was like one of the original ones. This came out before the, I believe it came out before like the KVT 910. It was like previous to that. So like was like really around the time video started kind of becoming, a thing. But yeah, I moved all the climate controls because the climate controls are on the left side here. Right. And I literally like painstakingly soldered each wire and extended it and put them in the center console. Wow. And yeah, it was a lot of work. I put a lot of time and hours into this vehicle, but it was cool. I won 3rd place at Hot Import Nights for hottest 2-door compact, which, at the time, Hot Import Nights was like one of the biggest shows. And, I won 3rd place, which was a pretty big deal for me. I mean, I was like, competing with guys that had hundreds of thousands of dollars dumped into their car.
Yeah, true. Was that the New Jersey one? Because that show
that was Philly.
Okay,
it was
New Jersey won best of show. We won best of show in New Jersey.
I was at the New Jersey one, but I didn't win there. I think it was before I had finished it. I think I just had like the body kit on and stuff. I didn't really complete this, but
show car stuff back in the day is a lot different than what we see now. You know what I mean? Like you look at your car, what you have going on in that Civic, and it would rival. I mean, some of the builds that we have today, I don't think could have this much. I don't want to offend anybody by saying this. They don't have this much integration with. I don't want to say integration is not the right word. They don't have that. Like you're not touching the radio bezel, the door panel bezel, painting shit, and then tying it into the trunk. It's just a trunk now. You know what I mean? It's for the most part, it's just a trunk. And guys, believe me, I 1000% am not trying to diss any of the fabricators that are happening that are
Yeah, I mean, fabrication was just very different back then. I mean,
it was a lot more painful.
It was way more painful, and like the techniques that people use today. I mean, it just amazes me. Like I mean, I've learned a lot from watching them, and like I've done mobile solutions, and I'm like, gosh, like if I'd have known this back then, like I would have saved me so much time.
So much easier.
But again, like it was a different time frame. Like, this was what was cool back then, I mean, we look at it now and we're like, oh, I can't believe I did that. I like drove around with that in my car, but that was what was cool back then. And again, I parked this car out front of Worldwide and people would just come in and be like, can I see what's in there? And we would just sell off of it constantly because people, even if they weren't looking to do this kind of work, they wanted to be going to a shop that had that kind of, capability. Yeah.
Right. So I've always said any shop that has something in production to show people, it makes it way easier for them, those people to decide. The more over the top and technical it looked for people, the easier it was for people to make a decision that I want you to work on my 92 Beetle, like because you're working on the Lamborghini doing stuff I don't even understand or can afford.
Right.
So it's a huge selling point, and all demo cars have that same thing. So
yeah, exactly. So I don't know if you want to look at any of my other ones. I have.
So let's go to your. It's not an Escape. What is that?
My Edge.
Your Edge.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the reason I like going from that. And I planned this when we talked about when you sent me these photos. The reason I liked what you had going with your Edge is because it shows the evolution of guys that are fabricating in our industry.
Right.
It's a good indication of where we've been and where we're going, and how important it was um, to do those things before, so you can understand where you're going. So
Right.
that's your amp rack. It's beautiful.
Yeah. So I did, because when I did this at the time, we had just released Maestro AR, and we worked with Audison Prima amplifiers, so it was like a perfect time. We hadn't released MFT1 for radio replacement in this car, so I was stuck with the factory radio. But again, the car was only a couple years old, so I was fine doing that. And so I did our AR integration in here, retaining the factory radio, and I just did like a custom amp rack. And then I did, and I kind of did that backwards, but I did like a split stack fab because the shape of the trunk is so weird. There's not really like a good line to go off of on the edge. It just is a really weird trunk. So I kind of like just started out by like cutting pieces and fitting them in. And then I realized quickly that like I'm going to have to do half of it stack fab and then the rest of it glass, and in order to just fit them. And so yeah, there's my amp rack like behind the scene. And then and so then I just filled it out, and then I did a press fit grill. It was the first time I'd ever done one. Again, this is like one of those scenarios where I literally just watched a video on YouTube on like Car Audio Fabricator, Mark's channel, and I'm like, all right, I could probably do that. And I did it, and, as far as the router goes, like I was pretty well versed with the router from my Worldwide days. Like I've always done a lot of routing work, so I'm very comfortable with that. So that portion of it was easy for me. But like some of the stack fabrication, like I'd never done it before, and then the pressed grill, I'd never done those before, but they were pretty easy to figure out. And then so that's basically the finished, and then I did Voces up front, again, all active. So I did a 6 in the door, and then the 3 in the tweeter, and then I did rear speakers, despite Ken Ward rolling his eyes at me when he helped me tune it.
I mean, I think rear speakers have. We're not going to get into it. We're not going to go crazy.
Yeah, no, I
didn't
mean to open that door. I just, but yeah, I mean, it sounds great. I'll tell you one thing. Like I've had this in my car for a couple years now. I just recently upgraded the amps. I went from the Audison to the Audio Control D1200 and a LC800. And I mean, I have literally beat the hell out of these speakers because I drive a lot because I travel, I go to Virginia, I go to Boston, I drive those, you
don't go to Maryland. I can tell you right now, you don't go to Maryland.
I drive through Maryland. But and I put like some road time in, and I listen to music, and I've literally, and my audio frogs, oh my gosh, those things have been tortured to death, and they still sound as good as the day I got them. So it's a testament to both of them. They're just awesome.
Well, when you work in our industry, our beating the shit out of stuff is way different than the customer beating.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, obviously system design comes into play massively, and, I'm not, abusing them. I'm just, pushing them to the maximum that they can do. And, if you do it right, you're not going to have a problem, and that, whenever I designed a system for a customer, I always was, qualified that person, like, how are they listening to music? Are they listening to it because they like sound quality, or are they listening to it because they want the neighbors to hear it and the people 3 blocks down the street?
That's that's always kind of the challenge is customer. So I don't think they do it on purpose, but customers lie to you.
Oh, all the time.
They lie. They don't even in the sales process, they don't really give a true statement as to, how they listen, right?
Yeah.
And I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. It's kind of our job to overbuild stuff for customers sometimes.
Yeah.
So
yeah, no, it definitely is. But customers do lie. Oh, they want the best of both worlds, right? Like I want to be able to beat the heck out of it and have it sound like the best sounding system in the world, and I want to spend $1,500 doing that.
I want to spend 32 cents.
Yeah, it's like you got to pick or choose there, buddy.
Right.
But yeah.
All right. So now you're at Idatalink, and I meet you with one of your buddies, Ron Hoser, good friend of yours.
Yep. Yeah, Ron actually taught me a lot of my fabrication, as well as a guy named Jeff Brand, which I feel like I should mention both of them because, Jeff, I don't know if he still works in the industry. If anybody can hire him, you'd be in luck because he's probably one of the best. He's awesome. Yeah, he's really very talented, very meticulous guy, and he really taught me most of what I know, and as well as Ron. So.
Well, right. So I think it's in your personality just to be a very meticulous person. Like, you look at, I've never seen anything that you've done have a sloppy finish. You know what I mean? Like, I remember you were helping Ron and I with our early podcastings that we were doing at Ron's shop, and you were like very adamant about everything working, even though it wasn't important. You know what I mean? So it's just part of your it's your personality. You just
part of my attention deficit disorder, where I'm just like hyper focused on things,
Right, but that's a good thing. Focused. It's a good thing, and it's a good thing when you're dealing with in a manufacturer's role where your work is going to go out and be in someone's car. So you're a partner with me. I'm an Idatalink dealer, right? And I go and I put an AR in a car. So, speaking of AR, I want you to touch on something because I heard you guys are building a cool ass demo car that does a lot of weird shit. This is what I heard. There's a Volkswagen that you guys are doing that's going to have either multiple ARs or multiple the head unit replacement thingy, and it's going to talk to each other and all kinds of crazy stuff.
Who did you hear that from?
I'm not going to say.
Oh, well, I don't know that I'm in liberty to speak of that completely. I mean, as far as that demo car goes, I don't know. If it is, it's something that they're working on without my knowledge. But
well, it's this Volkswagen I was talking about.
Well, which Volkswagen?
I don't know.
Well, I mean, I do semi know what you're referring to, but yeah. So, I mean, AR currently you can do multiples of them. So we actually worked really closely with ARC on this. So Fred actually, when we started doing AR integration with, like the PS850, when he was building his car, he's like, hey, I'd really like to do 2 PS850s. And so we actually made custom firmware for him so that he could do more than one AR. And then we just kind of started going, well, this makes sense because the problem is that cars, now you need more than, 8 channels. Right. You need more than that. So it made sense for us to go that route. But yeah, I mean, we're always evolving. I mean, this is the one thing I love about ADS and working here is that we're never going to be like, this is good enough. You know what I mean? We're always looking to say, how can we do it better and take it to one next step. All I can tell you is we have some really cool stuff coming on the horizon. Like just when you think like, oh, what else can Maestro do? We're gonna surprise you again. I can't really speak to it because it's not just the problem is it's not just Maestro that's involved. We have obviously a lot of partners that we work with. So it involves them too. So it's not
no need to explain. No
Yeah.
need to explain.
But I
technology
can say that we are going to have some really cool stuff coming, that we have some really cool stuff coming down the pipeline. But even this year, we have a bunch of new stuff that I can talk about that's coming as well. So
right, and that's kind of what we're here for.
Yep.
If you want to get started and talk about,
Yeah.
what you guys have coming, and how it will work well with current cars and for dealers all over the country.
Yeah. So we have 3 new modules coming this year. So we have 1 new radio replacement module coming, and we have 2 amplifier replacement modules coming, and then we have 11 new dash kits coming. So the radio replacement interface, and I know it sucks working for an interface company, because the only thing I can show is like a black box, which is really not much to look at. But we have the Maestro SRs coming out, and really where it's going to kind of fit into the line is in what I call it is the Maestro RR Lite. So it's going to be a radio replacement interface just like the RR does. It's going to be flashable just like the RR is. It's going to use a T harness just like the RR. It just is really going to strip out a lot of the extras that the RR does. So it's not going to do like performance gauges. It's not going to do vehicle info, or the TPMS or any of that. It won't do climate controls. It's going to be a stripped down version of the RR. But what it will provide is all of the crucial stuff that you need to retain when you replace the radio. So steering wheel controls, things like vehicle settings, which people tend to overlook, but like your factory radio's got a bunch of settings in it, and you take the radio out and you lose all that functionality. The RR is going to be able to retain that. So if you're using it with a Maestro compatible radio, you'll connect it with a 4-pin. All your vehicle settings will be on that aftermarket radio. If you're using it with a non-Maestro compatible radio, we'll have an app for your phone that you will be able to connect to the Bluetooth of this and access all your vehicle settings on your phone. So
that's crazy.
Yeah. So the benefit here is, and really why we did this was because the RR is a fantastic module and it does so much. The problem with it is that it's a lot more expensive than, say, some of the pack RP kits, some of the Metra solutions. And so if a customer is looking at a radio that is not Maestro compatible, you can use an RR and a T harness with it, but it's not really going to provide any sort of advantage over what a pack or a Metra kit's going to do. It's still going to just do the steering wheel controls and replace the radio, give you all your connections, whatever. But it's not going to do any of the extra stuff we do.
I'm going to interject.
What's that?
I'm going to interject here. I'm going to tell you it's going to do one thing. It's going to be inventory control, because you'll be able to have said module with. So the way we do this stuff is we have stopped doing anything that you guys cover. We have the T harness in stock and an RR, and that's our solution.
Right.
The cool thing about that is it's easier for us to have 4 or 5 RRs and all those harnesses.
Have all the harnesses.
As opposed to all of the pack and the Metra stuff. And that's not a slam on those guys. It's just easier for me to inventory that stuff. So that's the one thing that all dealers should be looking at when they look at this product.
Yeah, our business model from day one has always been one module for all, right? So it's like a dealer can stock just a few of these and then stock our entire line of T harnesses, or even multiples of our T harnesses, and then you're covered, right? And it ties up less inventory dollars, and it takes up less space on your showroom. And that was our whole concept from the beginning. And we do the same thing with starter as well, remote start. We do, if you look at our starter line, we have one module really, or just a handful of modules. And then you sell, we have T harnesses. So, obviously it's a little different because you could do a hardwire install, but in the case of Maestro, it made sense to go that route. And, it's been very successful for us. And the SR is not going to be any different. You're going to be able to stock a couple of them. But the benefit of the SR is if you are selling a radio that's not Maestro compatible and a customer is on a budget where they're like, look, because again, if you look at an RR with an FO2 retail, you're $300, right? So the FO2 harness with an RR is $300. You can, and if you're not using a Maestro compatible radio, you could do, PAX version of that. It's like $200 and something, $220, I think. So, it's a lot less. You're going to be able to do the same price point or around the same price point with an SR because you're not really going to need any of that extra stuff. Obviously, we do a little bit extra because we retain your vehicle settings, which, the way we look at vehicle settings is these aren't things that you can lose. If you look at Chrysler, they control all of their collision avoidance through there, right? So if you want to turn off your factory collision avoidance, that is done through the factory touchscreen. There's no other way to turn it off. You don't want to lose that capability when you replace your radio. And so the SR will provide a solution to be able to retain all of that, even on a non-Maestro compatible radio. Whereas,
Right. The other cool thing is if you are like me and you are very, very narrow with your head unit choices, you can stock your other piece that gives you a plug and play, faster installation, more correct installation, and just
and now we're doing, and I didn't know if you have seen these yet. We're doing our we started pre-terminating our RR harnesses.
That's what I meant.
Yeah. So they're pre-terminated, and then we sell the little pigtail. So I think this is the Sony one. Yeah, Sony. And it just snaps on. And then, you just stock these and, they're a big time saver, and, it's not a huge expense to the customer. I think they're like $20. And, it takes a lot of the possibility of failure out of the question,
Yeah, that's what I was saying. It's just, it's a quicker, more correct installation. So.
Yeah. And so, so the other two modules that we have coming are AR2. So the AR is still going to continue. And the only thing about the AR is that it has to be used with a Maestro compatible product, right? You must use it with an ARC or an Audison product because currently they're the only two that support AR. Now, the AR2 will still work with those products. Okay, you can use it with the serial Maestro compatible products, but it will also have 6 RCA outputs, okay, front, rear, and sub, and then or a single Toslink output, which you can see on the side. So it's got a single Toslink output. Now, obviously, with this, when you're using the RCA outputs, we do all the data control and telling where to play a chime at what volume level out of the RCA. Now, out of Toslink, because it's left-right audio only, that's it. You don't get fader or anything. It's just volume up and down. It's not going to do fading front to back. We can only send alerts and chimes through either the left or the right side. Whereas with the RCA output, we can do it out of a specific speaker. You retain your fader. But obviously some people are going to want to use Toslink no matter what, because it's going to be, a better signal.
A quieter signal that
sure.
that won't get any noise.
But you could, if you use this with an ARC product, you can send the Toslink into like a PS850 and you won't have any of those sacrifices because it's Maestro compatible, right?
It's gonna choose.
We tell the ARC where to send everything, right? Whereas everything here is being done internally. So, it's there's always going to be advantages to using a Maestro compatible product, right?
So I have recently just fallen in love with the ARC product, and this we'll get Brian and and those guys on here at some point. But is it? I'm not going to ask that question. Let's rewind.
Okay.
Let's rewind, because I don't want to make anybody mad.
Sure.
We're all one industry, and we're fucking crazy. So rewind. You guys had been in the past doing RR stuff for cars that you don't make kits for, and I think that's fucking badass. I think that's really cool that you guys had the information. Like, you know what, dude, we don't have a piece of plastic, but we'll set this piece of firmware out with the hardware. With
right,
all the
yeah. So like the Charger Challenger, we did that with.
Yep. Hyundai. Well, you and I spoke about the Hyundai a couple months ago.
Yeah.
How far down this rabbit hole are you guys going to go? Because we have just done a very bizarre car. We did an MDX 2015 MDX where we changed the radio, and then everything else was a struggle.
Yeah,
steering wheel controls, all that stuff. It's all there.
Yeah,
and we don't have any integration for the amp or anything like that because it was digital.
Sure.
How far are you guys? Do you know how far you guys are willing to do stuff like that? Because a lot of these platforms that, like that Acura, will probably be the same thing as that MDX will probably be very similar to a TL or an RL or something like that.
Yeah, I mean we don't have a ton of engineers. I think I should know how many engineers we have, but maybe 10 or 12 engineers on Maestro. And so, and we've got a lot of open projects, going on. Like, we're working on most for Bose, for both amp replacement and radio replacement. We're working on most 150 for European cars. Same thing, radio replacement, amp replacement. And the problem is like those cars, there's a need for them, right? Because they've been out for a while and we need solutions for them. And so it's just hard because like we look at like, okay, where are we going to be the most effective? Right. Where, so it's tough. I don't really know, how R&D decides which cars we're going to do. I just talk about it once it comes out.
Right.
But they usually do a great job. I mean, like, I think all the solutions we have a purpose. You know what I mean? Look at MFT1 as a great example. Up until MFT1 came out, there was nothing for my Ford Touch, really.
And my Ford Touch sucks.
It does. Well, and they all started breaking. They're all breaking.
And they all started breaking, right? And guys would come into stores and
and now you have one kit, right? MFT1 covers all,
right?
Pretty much every Ford vehicle that had an 8-inch screen in it, right? So it's like one kit and done, right? Retained.
Not only that, you guys integrated, parts that are still going to be there. The factory volume knob is going to be there, and you guys integrated to that, so it's not like weird. You know what I mean? So it's really cool.
Yeah, our goal with every solution is to minimize the amount of loss that the customer will have to deal with when they replace the radio, right? They don't want to be told, oh, well, I'm going to be able to replace your radio, but the display in your gauge cluster is not going to work anymore, or yeah, I can replace your radio, but I can't retain this feature or that feature. They want to be like, everything's going to work exactly the way it did. I'm just going to have a new radio in there. And that's a lot of times what people want to be told, and that's what we do,
Right.
And a lot of times we make it work better, we'll improve that functionality.
You guys add functionality. We did a F-150 with on the RR and some other stuff in a personal friend's car. Yeah. And he got in the car and there was like a 1 on the thing, or 7. I forget what it was. I was like, I don't know what the fuck that is. It was a preset.
Oh.
It was a preset. So whenever he changed presets, that little number on the factory display changed.
Oh yeah.
So it's you guys are adding, a lot of usability, and a lot of things you guys are thinking of are stuff that as a retailer we don't even think of to ask. You know what I mean? So the checklist for you guys must be really long.
Yeah. Oh, it is. But the thing is too, like we're not gonna be, a Metra kit manufacturer. Like we pick and choose our kits very carefully based on like either what's available currently, or we'll look at a solution and say, well, there's nothing available. There's nothing available for this car, so we're gonna do it. And for that reason, like our kits do very well. They're very successful. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've worked trade shows, and people just were like, "You're our go-to." Right? If you don't make a solution for it, then we look elsewhere.
Right.
And
that's a huge compliment, because the space that you guys are in is not crowded. It's not like the amplifier market.
Oh, it was a big risk getting, I was at Kenwood when Maestro launched in 2012, and they had 4 radios. Kenwood had 4 radios that were Maestro compatible, and Maestro had 1 T harness, worked for Ford. That's it. And think about that. Like coming into a market that's already overcrowded, you couldn't just come into the market and be like, yep, we're just doing the same thing you're doing. You know what I mean? It had to be different, and they did. They I mean, it was really cool. In fact, when I was at Kenwood, so they launched in 2012, and I came to work for Maestro in 2016. For those years while I was at Kenwood, pretty much Maestro was what I trained on every time I went out on the road, because it just offered so many cool features. You know what I mean? That it was like, if you add a Maestro, you're making this radio cooler. It does.
It's more. Not. I don't think it's cooler. I think it's more. It's an easier sale.
Yeah.
Right. Well, you're not going to lose, Mr. Customer. You're not going to lose anything. Nothing.
Right.
Nothing. Yeah. Nothing. You're going to add all this cool shit.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
Exactly.
There's no. It takes away one of the things that makes you not want to sell stuff sometimes.
Yeah.
The argument. The best thing about Maestro is, and this is going to sound very sexist, but women customers do not like to lose anything.
Oh, really?
This is I mean, guys are like, I don't give a fuck. You just loud,
Yeah.
Female clients are like, well, no, I really like the fact that I can change.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've been in retail, so I can't. But I do seem to remember that now. Like, I don't want to lose that. It's
right.
Yeah.
Right. So let's go forward and talk about your latest project that you have. You showed me some stuff. You text me your scanner and your S2000.
Oh, yeah,
you're an S2000 guy too.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I right around COVID, I did what everybody else did and splurged and bought something for myself. And but I had an S2000. If you remember, I had an S2000 right when I started at Kenwood, and then I sold it because I was broke, and that car was costing me a fortune. Right. And so I got rid of it, and I regretted it the minute I got rid of it. I was like, oh, stupid, but you live and you learn. And so I found one locally, and I just was like, I need to jump on this opportunity, or I'm never going to get another chance to. So I did. But yeah, like I bought a 3D scanner, and I've been, toying around with scanning the car and building some fog lights for it, right. Which I know me and you have talked about it. I bought that scanner because you recommended it.
Yeah.
Have you used it?
I use my Peel. I use my Peel because I know how to use it, and the software is easier. Well, it's not easier. The software I know. Dude, I'm learning. Yeah, I'm learning so many things at one time. It's
yeah. I mean, I've used it a handful of times, and it works pretty well. I'm still learning it, obviously, but it's pretty awesome. And just because I work in 3D a lot, like all of the videos that I make, it kind of comes a little natural to me. Like I get what I'm supposed to do with those 3D scans. Like I know how to build off of them and, take the scan and modify it, The
mesh. Yeah.
The mesh. Yeah, exactly. As I work with, that's what I've been doing for the last 10 years, is working in 3D with meshes. So
right. Now, what do you think? I mean, you guys are really dealing in the future. Like you guys are 2 or 3 years in planning for something that you're starting today or tomorrow or yesterday or whatever like that. What do you see as the future of 12 volt from a manufacturer side? That's a hard question.
it is a hard question. Well, it's tough because obviously radio replacement is dying. I mean, there's still a lot of older vehicles out there that will need radio replacement. Like, a lot of customers that buy cars today are like, older customers that are like, I don't care about my radio. Like, I just drive to work and back, but then once that car transfers down the line, you're going to eventually get somebody that's like, I want to replace this radio. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And put a system in it, So there's certainly still going to be a lot of that. But like, you look at, some of these newer EVs, like, the radio is just so highly integrated. I don't know that that's ever going to be an option, So obviously amp replacement is going to be a big part of the future of our business. But I will say this, we will not ever stop trying to do radio replacement, right? Like it is going to evolve, right? Just like it always has, right? Things are going to have to change. Radio manufacturers are going to have to, kind of switch gears in the way they're making radios in order to continue doing what we do, and that's going to be that's our focus. Is we still want to provide radio replacement solutions. We just got to kind of change gears on how we're doing it,
So a funny thing, I don't know if you guys were big Alpine dealers back in the day, but Vehicle Hub Pro, do you remember that thing?
Yeah, I do remember Vehicle Hub Pro. Man, I haven't heard that name in a long time, but I do remember it. Yeah. I can't remember exactly what. Didn't it come with like a control knob?
It had a control. So think of iDrive, an aftermarket iDrive.
Yeah.
That's kind of what it was. I think, and I could be totally wrong, if we were able to give people a sonic upgrade with their current screen with a lot of the complaints I get now are like, I just want to change the graphics on the screen.
Right. So that's right. The Vehicle Hub Pro would take the Alpine GUI and put it onto whatever screen you had. You'd use like the nav TV piece and pipe it into it. Yeah.
Right.
And then you'd use the control knob to access all the features of it.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think that was a very futuristic thing. Looking back from where I am now, back then I thought it was cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now I think it
was definitely ahead of its time.
Yeah.
And Kenwood did something similar with they had their
the name of it.
KOS. Yeah, it was called their KOS. They had a KOS 500 and a KOS 1000.
You worked there at the time, right?
I did, and again, very much ahead of its time. I think it was a little too early because it definitely was a complete failure. It was unfortunate because if they would have just come out with that a little bit later with like current technology, it would have done, I think, really well.
Right. The problem with a lot of Japanese manufacturers, and you work there, and if I'm wrong, please correct me. They try it once and it didn't work.
That's it. You don't get a second try. Right. No, you do not. In fact, don't even mention it.
Right.
They don't even want to hear it.
Right. Yeah. So the Sony guys don't like to explode stuff. They don't want to talk about it.
Yep. I don't look at explode as a failure. I mean, people bought it. I mean, it was everywhere.
It was everywhere, but it was, the D button. Come on, bro. Yeah. What were you thinking? What were you thinking? I mean, even at the time. So when I worked this is such a fucking weird story because, this is not about me, but this story is, going back when I worked at a store, we had 2 brands at the store that I started at. And this is before MCO, Alpine and Sony. And I said, I will not work here if you guys sell Sony. They dropped Sony. And hindsight,
Yeah, it's
looking back and
hilarious.
now I'm
It's
like
hilarious.
waving
Well,
the
yeah, but
Sony flag
you
everywhere.
look if you look at the brands throughout the years, they that some of I mean, think about Kenwood demask radios. I mean, how many of them failed? You know what I mean?
The flip around thing.
Yeah, like I
I
had
never,
stacks of them on my layaway pile, broken.
I never see
The
them
ribbon
break.
cables went, all of them, like every single one of them went bad. And they learned their lesson and they moved away from doing the motorized radios and just said we'll never do that again. you
Right.
know,
What's not fair is when they have like a home run slam dunk hit and they never go back. That's the other thing
right?
that doesn't make
Well, and
sense.
so, but it's hard for them to see, even if we come back to them and say, hey, this didn't work out at the time, but if we just do it now and make these changes, it's going to be, it's hard to do that. It really is. They don't want to take the risk again, because they just, I mean, even with AR, when we launched with AR, we did it with Kenwood, right? They came out with a 6-channel DSP amp, and AR was brand new. We had like one T harness. It only worked in Ford, and they made the amp only compatible working with the AR. So you couldn't sell it in like an older car. Like you couldn't sell it in any car other than a car that the AR worked in. So it was like limited to Ford. That is it for like a year or two. So of course they didn't sell any of them, right? If you couldn't sell it, and put it in any car, you're not going to. So of course it didn't do very well. And, I actually mentioned it to him recently. I was like, you guys should think about re-releasing that amp because I think it would do really well. Nope. Don't even want to talk about it.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy. But I mean, some of the stuff is kind of common sense. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I know that we have Subaru right now is a fucking pain in the dick unless you have an AR. You have an AR and a fucking Blackbird, it's smooth sailing, my friend.
Yeah.
It is. It is super badass and it works like gangbusters.
The ARC stuff works phenomenally. I've used it and I love their tuning software. It's really great. Fred is amazing. He's, I've worked pretty closely with him and, we've done some trainings together and, I'm very impressed. It's pretty awesome.
So if I have a PSM Pro, which is AR compatible, for motorcycles, but AR
Harley solution.
In a Harley solution, right? It actually comes with a Harley tune on it to de-equalize, which is really cool. But enough about them. They have built probably I'm going to say this, and I don't care who gets mad at it. The best DSP for the price for a car or a truck or a motorcycle is the PSM Pro. It is fucking amazing.
Yeah, I haven't used the PS. I haven't used that piece personally, but just based on what I've seen with their other products, it's Fred's car. His Flex is. I mean, it sounds amazing.
Yeah,
it
does. I'm more impressed with what kind of, and I'm gonna have to get those guys on here because I'm talking about them. And what that PSM Pro does, I'm telling you, man, I tuned one the other day and I found a feature that's in there that is completely it's a feature that's so simple.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna touch on it too much, but it's so simple and it'll help you dial a car in within minutes.
Yeah.
Within minutes.
It is. Yeah. There definitely have some really cool stuff for sure.
Right. And quite frankly, I can't say that. There are things about ARC that would surprise the entire industry if people knew kind of what about that company. It is.
I sold ARC at Worldwide.
Craziness. Did you really?
Yeah. Like
wow.
Way back in the day. Yeah.
So it's different now than then though, because
it is. Yeah.
They're really taking a hold of especially this iData technology and making it making it.
Well, they
The
see the
forefront of
value in it and see that, like, the AR, whenever we come out with an interface, even when we came out with RR, we didn't look at it like, okay, we launched at 2012, we need to sell all of our product immediately. Like it was a long game for us. We knew that when we launched RR that it wasn't going to be like, oh, this is great, let's everybody sell it. We knew that we were gonna have to go out and sell the product and make people understand like what it does and why it provides, value and how it's going to make your life easier. And that took years, right? Like it took years. AR is no different, right? As cars become more and more integrated and, you've got these, data controlled amplifiers, there's going to be more and more need for a product like the AR, right? Where, you need something that's going to be, on that level to be able to raise the radio. So it's a long-term, thing for us.
Proposition.
Yeah.
So just going back to data control stuff, they're going to be new, like A to B came out.
So I was just gonna mention that. So we have our A to B module coming too. So it looks exactly the same as the AR2. It's the same platform, basically. And really, if you think about it, this is an AR. That's all it is. It's an AR. The only difference is instead of taking an analog signal in, it's taking A to B in and giving you analog or Toslink output. And again, because there's an AR built into this, if you're doing an ARC with this in a Ford with Bang & Olufsen, it's same thing.
Or an Audison.
Yeah, don't want to leave out Audison. Yep, the new Forza amps, which are also fantastic, by the way. I sat in Ken's training, and I was quite impressed.
Yeah, really, we don't mention AR, McNulty will stab me in the neck.
Yeah.
Or I'm sorry, Audison.
He will. He'll give me shit too, for sure.
Okay. So,
but yeah, it's so yeah, either one of those. If you're using either AR, AR2, or A to B, it'll work with ARC or Audison products through the serial connection, or you can use them in universal mode with an RCA output or that single Toslink output.
Right. I think that the one thing that I'm going to be trying, I'm going to build in my new car. I'm going to keep the factory head unit in my old ass Sequoia, but it's AR compatible. So I'm going to do AR2. I'm going to do AR2. I'm going to call a buddy and ask him if he can help me out with an AR2, so I can go optical in.
The cool thing about AR2 is, and I don't think this will be at launch, but you're going to be able to do 2 of them. So if you need more than 6 RCA outputs, let's say you need 8 or 12, you can link a second one. You'll also be able to do that with A to B. So eventually you can have the A to B, which again, it will have front, rear, and sub. But if you need more, you can add an AR2 to it, and you'll have additional channel outputs. So
that's cray. That's crazy.
Well, at this point, we're just trying to get the modules out. And then, we are going to, again, we're constantly evolving. If you look at what RR was back in 2012 to what it is today, it's a completely different monster. So, we're always going to be doing that type of stuff with all of our products, constantly evolving them and changing them and, just innovating,
So before I'm going to let you go here shortly because we're running a little bit later than I originally anticipated. Why do you think it's very difficult for guys to latch on to this technology? So, you go into a store and the guy's working on a Challenger and he's banging his head against the wall. He's got fucking LC2s lined up with line out converters. And you just go, why are you doing that? So we always did it. Why is it so hard for guys to pick up on this technology? What's the disconnect that you see?
Well, I don't know that it's disconnect more than it's, in my experience, just because I travel the whole country. So I talk to many different retailers. And part of the problem with our industry is people get very comfortable doing something a certain way, right? And they don't want to change. It was an uphill battle for us with Maestro because it was like a whole new concept. Hey, you got to flash the module and you got to connect it. I don't want to connect it to a computer. I just want it to work. It's like, well, it doesn't work like that. You've got to change if you want to use this product. And, and it's kind of one of those things, once they do it once, it's like, ding, the light bulb goes on and they go, this is amazing. And then they sell it. But until you get them to that point, it's difficult, right?
Do you think because it's less expensive is a good excuse? I mean, I know it's not, it's not, but do you think that clients are going to be like, I want it to work like shit, and I want you to fucking bang your head against the wall,
Well, I think, and I think that the less expensive argument is there, but that is, I truly believe, a lot of the times lies in the retailer, because the problem is they get a customer that comes in and says, I want to put a radio in or whatever, and they say, okay, here's the RR and this is the radio, and they go, I don't want to, that's too expensive. Why do I have to spend all this money on this interface? And they go, okay, well, I can do this one instead, but you're going to lose this and this. And they don't hear I lose this and this. They just hear it's less money. And then they put that one in and they go, well, why doesn't this work? Well, because you know what I mean? It's like they need to spend more time selling that fact that, like, no, you can't do this other product. You have to do this, because if you don't, it's not going to work right. You know what I mean? And on the other side, on the AR side, which, like you said, when you're talking about like a Charger or Challenger, Chrysler is a great example, is, when AR came out, I had this really crazy PowerPoint. I'll have to show it to you someday, but I built this. It was like in 3 steps. It was the problem, right? How these factory systems work, right? Fixed audio out of the back of the radio, controlled through data, right? Independent channels with factory DSP, right? And then how we dealt with that problem prior to things like the AR and Amp Pro, right? Was we just summed everything, right? And then we tried to remove all the equalization and remove the time alignment, and then we'd send it to a new amplifier. And that was expensive and overly complicated, and it just created a mess. And then I would show how the AR worked, right? Simplified, remove the factory amp, we handle all the data, and easy, right? But guys would leave and they would be like completely confused about what was going on, even though the message was as clear as day. And then they'd come back and they'd do the training again, or, come back again and do the training. And I had a guy come up to me after the 3rd one and he's like, I totally get it now. And then he was good. You know what I mean? But it took him 3 times to fully grasp what we were doing, And so I think sometimes it really is just, they need to like have that light bulb moment where it's like, oh, I see what's going on here now.
I understand how the relay works now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so, I take for granted that I work for Maestro, and like, I know the ins and outs of every single one of our products. But when I go into a territory or I go work a trade show, I try to be like, do the best I can to be like, these people that I'm talking to, they don't know Maestro like me. So I have to be like a little more like, okay, broad about things,
Right. But wait for 1 second. Adam Brown, what do you mean you think you're like, I don't understand what you meant by that comment?
He might mean he was the guy that came up to me after the training and said, I get it now.
Oh, I got you. Okay.
It's very possible. It happened more than once. There wasn't just one time where that happened. There were multiple times where I had gone into the territory, trained, left, gone into the territory, trained, left, gone back in. And the 3rd time I went in, the guy was like, oh, I totally get it now. Or you know what I mean? Like, I can name several people in our industry that after coming to my training more than one time, me doing that AR presentation, it clicked with them. They understood what was going on. And, now they're like, they do a bunch of ARs, they do DSR1. I'm sure they'll do very well with the AR2 because they get the concept of it, Right.
So I was going to ask a question and you just answered it by kind of.
Well, and I think too, and I know Jeff mentioned this too, was, if you're doing LOCs still, there's once digital takes over, which it is coming, right? A to B, A to B is coming, and a lot of companies are going to be doing them. You have SPDIF, you've got all these different digital technologies. They're taking over, right? The analog output type of thing is gone. That's not happening anymore. you know? So you've got to really like grasp what's going on and what we're doing. And, you know, these amplifiers are getting more complicated. So trying to do LOCs is, I don't even know how some of those guys do that stuff. You know, it's got to be mind
It's
boggling.
painful to watch. It's painful to watch.
Yeah.
It's because there's an easier way, a faster way. And
Mm-hmm.
quite frankly, if you're doing some of this stuff, it will correct a lot of mistakes from the break just because you're using a different way of. I have a question, and this might be ignorant, but I'll ask it anyway because Ada, is there ever going to be a part that you could do, multiple CAN bus inputs, where you could, get a car like a Honda that has some digital crap where you can grab some signal, like there's, 2 channels of input in the front, and then you can grab the data and then kind of teach the module what it's seeing. That way there's no need for us to wait for something. Like maybe it says, all right, you turn the volume up, turn the volume down, track up, track down. This thing will see that stuff and then do. Is that something that maybe could come?
I mean, maybe, but I wouldn't say anytime soon. I mean,
Right.
and the only reason I say that is because I know how hard our engineers work, and
it's not as easy as I'm letting
it's
on.
Not that simple, right? It's so like I'm not an engineer, and I've been up to the office and I see what those guys do, and the amount of time that they put into like reverse engineering, learning the data messages and translating them. It's ridiculous. I mean, our engineering team is amazing. That they are
And
able
it's trim
to
level based too, right? Because
what's
car trim level based. So
that?
like an LS may not do the same thing as a GT or just it's crazy amount of work. I know.
Yeah, I mean, like I know, like some of the solutions, like Volkswagen, I know they spent a ridiculous amount of time doing like certain things in that car. Took forever because we're about to release our Volkswagen Dash Kit, solution. So I don't know that that's something that's going to happen anytime soon.
I was just curious. I mean, that's just like you take an idea of something like that, and could be something obviously it would have to be a super powerful piece of equipment to learn a lot of different types of.
Well, let me tell you, I have a meeting once a week with engineers. I will certainly bring it up to them.
No, I don't. I was just asking that,
Yeah, no, I mean, it would be awesome, and again, I don't know enough about what they do, to know if that's even an option,
It's likely not. Just thinking about the different ways a Honda data system works to the Toyota data system. You know what I mean?
But if you would have told me 4 years ago that we would have the solutions that we have today, I would have said no way. But we do. Right. I mean, we just have grown, and we've like the stuff that we do still amazes me. They show me, oh, this is what we're gonna be doing I'm like, how did you figure this out? You know what I mean? It's like they do. They're just they're very and the crazy part about it is like our engineers aren't car audio guys. They're not even really, a lot of them aren't even like super into cars, but they understand what's going on in that car. You know what I mean?
That's probably the best case scenario because they're consumers they're car consumers at one point, right? Like, they want the button to work that they paid for.
I guess. So, the funny thing is I have to do a presentation for my entire company tomorrow and explain not only what we do as an industry, but also what Maestro is. Because we have a lot of people that are in accounting and you know what I mean? Like people that they're not car people and they don't necessarily totally understand what it is the company does. Our engineers know what we do. I know what we do. Tech support knows what we do, but we have a lot of other people that work at the company. So, I got to do that, which is going to be interesting because, I haven't done it.
Before we go, Adam Brown has been asking about the CRV almost the entire time, and I apologize, Mr. Brown, for I wasn't ignoring you. I just didn't know the right time. But before we get off here, he wants to ask about a 2019 CRV, and
Yep.
I don't know what his question is, but
I'm
if he wants
guessing.
to ask it,
I'm guessing I'm guessing he's probably asking for radio replacement.
is it about radio replacement, Adam, or is it about amp integration? It's probably lane watch. He's probably talking about.
So we do lane watch, but some of the newer Hondas, like I know I get barraged a lot by dealers because of like, when are you going to support the new Civic? And we are working on that. That's going to be our HO4 solution. So we are working on that. So if he's looking to do radio replacement, it's coming.
So he's asking about steering wheel control.
Yep. Yeah. So we're working on, or he's saying it's currently, I don't know if it's supported on the 19 CRV, but
RR2 Telluride. I think Telluride is covered already.
I don't know that Telluride is.
Oh, no, RR2.
Not for radio
RR2,
replacement.
not for radio replacement.
No.
Okay,
we probably cover it for. We probably cover it for. Yeah, so CRV will be in our HO4 solution because we don't do it yet.
It's not done yet, Adam. So it looks like HR.
But we are working on a new Honda solution,
right,
currently.
So can you just? I'm going to let you go after this, but just give all these guys. So that's a 2019. That car's 5 years old at this point. Can you give guys? I guess you can't, but from conception to sale, there's a bunch of things that have to happen.
Yeah.
They have to try to figure out what cars. They have to figure out how profitable it's going to be, because honestly, Idatalink is still a business.
Yeah.
And testing, because you guys have to make sure it works, right?
We have to find the cars, and we have to get them in the bay, and we have to take them apart, and we have to spend time with them, a lot of time with them, taking readings, and then writing all the code, and then bringing them back in and testing them. You know what I mean? It's a lot. You know, and it depends. Like if you look at, you know, like if we look at like Chrysler, right? The reason we have so many Chrysler solutions is because the firmware is the same in pretty much all of them, right? They share a lot of similarities, right?
And it's old. It's old. That I think that goes back to the Daimler Chrysler stuff. A lot of that stuff,
like 15 and up. Yeah, right. It's like, you know, it just, and it's not just it's all trims, right? So it's whether you got the base model or the top line, it's the same, right?
Right.
And so it when we looked at that and goes, this makes sense, right? For us to make this and push it out and get it done, this makes sense. But like Honda, and again, I'm not familiar with like if there's major differences in Honda, but you know, we know that it's an important solution because we do get quite a number of requests for Honda, in particular the new Civic. So I know that it is on our list of priorities that we're working on, but it's hard to give like a from start to finish because some solutions we dedicate more than one engineer to, and some, you know, we'll just like, we got one guy working on it. So, you know, it just really all depends. But, you know, we're just, and the thing is too, and I'm sure everybody will understand this, is when we come to market with a solution, we want it to work. Like we want it to be reliable. We want you to be able to, you know, have faith in selling it and knowing that it's going to work. And so we do a ton of testing, right? Before we put that solution even out onto the market.
Right. So this is, you know, kind of what Adam was saying. I'm glad you heard me, because the customer is a woman who didn't want to lose anything.
Right. So it's going to be same thing. Lane watch camera. If she's got the lane watch camera, we'll retain all of that. We'll make it all work on the aftermarket. I mean, it's so, you know, I mean, anytime we release solutions like that, it's very rare that we're going to say, oh yeah, that's not going to work. Right. Very
what I like is, you know, one of my favorite Idatalink, accessories is the lane watch, adding lane watch to cars, left and right side lane.
So I wish more people on, and it's not, we have videos on it on our YouTube channel, but like you've done it, so you know how easy it is to do, right? You can do it with Sony, you can do it with Pioneer, Kenwood, Alpine, JVC, any one of the radios. They all do. I mean, the setup is slightly different, but the concept is exactly the same. If you want to add side view or front view cameras, Maestro is your absolute best case scenario because we communicate with the radio. We tell the radio when to turn the camera on. We do all the switching. It's flawless. I have it in my car, in my Edge. Whether it's retaining it from the factory or adding it in an aftermarket solution, our camera integration is flawless. It works so well.
So let me also add to this, and this stream goes on my YouTube for that's just to the store, but it adds safety and it adds money to the till.
That's why I pitch it all the time. Right. We're not selling backup cameras anymore. We're selling, but we should be selling side view and front cameras.
Right.
Right.
Right. And the front camera, the way you guys integrate the front camera, it is a lot like that 2020 Corvette that's sitting outside. When I'm going slow, boom.
So you hit 10 miles an hour, and then we cut it off. Yep. Right. So
you can select how you want it to work.
Right. We can do that because we know the speed of the vehicle and we're telling it to the radio. You know what I mean? And we're doing that all over that data cable. So because of that 4-pin connection, that serial connection to the back of the radio, we're able to do so much more on an integration level, especially with cameras. We've just, and then again, this is just going back to us constantly evolving and changing what our product does.
So let me tell you how important that is, because using current CarPlay radio with wireless connection, the GPS antenna gives the CarPlay information that you're doing these certain things, right?
Right.
We had a customer during the pandemic that we put in a non Idata piece, and we gave him side and rear cameras. And what would happen when you turn the turn signal on, CarPlay would freak out.
Oh, really?
Turn that right turn signal on, right? And then we were giving it information to the radio that the car's in now reverse, right? So that the camera would
it was running it through the backup camera input, which is how most companies do it. Yeah.
Right. But it didn't work. You know why it didn't work? Because as soon as it saw that turn that you're making a right-hand turn for, now the car thinks it's going backwards while you're going forward. So you make that turn, and now the car's back there, and then it's all fucked up.
So with the way we do it is we just have dedicated inputs, right? So you have camera 1, 2, and 3, and you can assign them, and so that's how
you guys are doing stuff with video screen as opposed to fucking with the other stuff.
Correct. Right. Yep.
So all you guys are out there, you want to figure out different ways to add to your ticket. You're already in there with an RR. This is stuff you can add in the future. You can tell them about. And you guys also offer for soundboards. You got to reach out to your rep or your distributor.
The demo RR.
Demo RRs. We used to have it, but I flashed it.
I think it's $25. Yeah. It's locked in demo mode.
Then what the hell did I happen?
You might have had demos like early before the demo RR. We had special simulator software that you could just put on a regular RR, but so many people asked for the demo RR that we just made a demo RR and we locked it into demo mode. It's actually our old original RR, which had a little bit of memory in it, like 256. The new ones have more, and those you can't use anymore. So we just turned them into demo modules. So they're like $25. And you can put one on every Maestro compatible radio you have on your board. It unlocks all the features. You can show them how it works. It's a really great tool for your showroom.
Right. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna ask my rep for that tomorrow.
Yeah,
we're gonna have a bunch of them on display. But thank you so much, dude. I know this is your personal time. I think it's really cool that you have as much love and it's not even love. It's like a kind of a an addiction to this
It is a
industry.
big addiction. Yeah.
But
It's
I
tough.
appreciate you taking your time from your
Yeah.
family for us, for
Yeah,
your Caldwell
absolutely.
family.
I'm glad you asked
And
me to do this. I really appreciate
it's
it.
it's so cool, man, and I appreciate you. So I'm gonna let you go because I'm hungry. I'm
Yeah,
so
man.
hungry.
Go eat.
Next time,
I'm glad we could talk. This was good.
yeah, next time I see you, um, I'm gonna give you. I got something for you, and just because I appreciate you so
Well,
much.
I'm gonna drive the S down as soon as I'm done traveling. I've been on the road like constantly.
So I don't know if you put a system in your S yet, but you got to get my rear pods, dude. They're fucking badass.
I know. Yeah, I saw them. I don't know if I want to cut my
You don't have to cut.
yeah.
You don't have to cut. When you
I'll have to watch
see,
that video again.
yeah, there's another way to get a wire into there,
Okay.
but that's for another time. That's for another
Yeah,
time.
I'm going to come down. My travel kind of ends at the end of June. Like at least it slows down, and I will bring it down, and I'll just make sure to come afternoon.
Giggity. Yes, he does have something. All right, man. Thanks,
All right.
guys, so much. We appreciate you guys for watching, and thank you. And next time we'll have what the hell is the next guy? Chris Bula from MECP this time. So
Oh yeah, I heard he's bringing back MECP.
it's coming back big time, and I'm
Yep.
getting certified. Long story, but thank you guys. We'll see you
Cool.
next time.
All right.
All right, bye.
Thanks.